magic name is AlakaSam. Thank you to the city of Seattle for having me back for, I think this is a 4th year in a row, to do magic. Now, in years past, I did what you might call classic magic, making things appear, disappear, or for example, taking a handkerchief like this and throwing it in the air and getting a cane almost instantly. Now that's magic. That I am not at liberty to tell you how it's done. It's a magic secret guarded by the Magician's Code. But today, the big day of play, 2020, is a very special day. Not is it only a day to remind us to get out and play and get some good exercise. It's also a special day in that I'm going to show you some magic tricks and I'm going to teach you the secret science magic show. And the beauty is the science phenomena seem like magic, but I'm happy to tell you the explanations because it's science education, and what could be more fun? Now, what is it that magicians often use to make the magic happen? It's like a stick they wave around. Not my cane, but a wand. Yes, a wand. So that's the magic wand we're going to use for this trick. And the other strange thing about this effect is the other prop. And the other prop today is, what? It is a packet of ketchup. Yeah, I'm going to do a miracle with this ketchup. A couple miracles. First, I'm going to make it disappear. I'm going to make it vanish. And it's going to reappear inside of a bottle that is filled to the top with a clear, tasteless, odorless liquid. What on earth might be this clear, odorless, tasteless liquid? Yes, you got it. It's water. I've got a bottle of water, and we'll cover it up with the handkerchief. Watch the magic. I'm going to take the ketchup bottle. Oh, not bottle, ketchup. It's just the packet. Let's not exaggerate. I'm going to take the packet and show it to you, and I'm going to try to make it dematerialize into the bottle here. You ready? 1, 2, 3. AlakaSam. It's gone, and there it is. It's inside of the bottle, folks. In that sealed bottle has reappeared that ketchup packet. But wait, there's more. This ketchup packet, after having gone through that ordeal, is subject to my wand's hypnotic trance. When I say go down, 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 it goes down. It follows the wand as if by magic. If I bring the wand up, it goes up. I can stop it halfway. Hover, hover, but now, quickly, come to the top. It's the amazing floating ketchup, folks. It seems to just follow the wand. How is this done? Think of your ideas, talk to your friends about what you think's going on, and here's the big reveal. Sometimes I get people to think there's a magnet here and a metal piece in there, but no, it's not magnetic. Here is what I want you to notice. I'm going to take the bottle, I'm going to squeeze it real tight, and watch what happens to the ketchup packet. If I let go, it rises. If I squeeze the bottle, it sinks. If I let go, it rises. What we have here, folks, is something called a Cartesian diver. And a Cartesian diver is a physics project that you could do if you can find yourself a condiment packet that floats, that just manages to float in water. So there's nothing fishy about this tomato packet. It is the case that ketchup doesn't float, but there's something else in that packet that's making it float. What do you think's in there? Yeah, when they seal up the ketchup, they also put a little bit of air in there. So there's an air bubble inside that ketchup packet. So after you find a packet that floats well, and you put it inside the jar and fill it up and seal it off, you have yourself a Cartesian diver, where if you squeeze, it goes down. And what's happening, the physics, is that air bubble inside there. When you squeeze the whole bottle, you're also squeezing that little bit of air that's inside there. It's a closed system. And when you take and you compress a gas, if you squeeze it and get it into a smaller space, it becomes more dense. Yeah, it becomes denser, and more dense things, it gets so dense that it actually sinks. So you're compressing the air, it's one of the gas laws, and that causes it to become more dense. When you release the pressure, it goes back to its buoyant self. It's the Cartesian diver, folks. Well, next we're going to try a combustion demonstration. Does anyone out there know what is combustion? Combustion is fire. And there's three things you need for fire. And I'll have you think about them in your head, but I'll also tell you this. These demonstrations I'm going to do now, I have trained for a long time on how to do, and we'll be doing safely. I've got a fire extinguisher at the ready, and I'll be wearing safety goggles at the same time. My first question for you is, what are the three components of fire? Well, it's heat, fuel, and oxygen. You need heat, fuel, and oxygen for something to combust or burn. Watch the science. Whoa! Did you see that combustion? Now again, trust me, this is done in a very safe way. It is the case that the heat, fuel, and oxygen I used today were this. The fuel was something called lycopodium powder. Lycopodium powder, it's actually moss spores. It's a very, very, very fine powder. Now, when it's clumped up or in a container like this, it is a fuel, but it doesn't burn. It won't burn as a powder, and I can demonstrate that by lighting a match and putting the lit match into the lycopodium powder, and let's watch what happens. What happens? It went out. Why did it go out? Well, down inside the powder, there's no oxygen. You remember, oxygen's a part of combustion, so it put the match out. But if you get this powder atomized, that is, you make it very, very fine, it becomes very, very flammable. So I will once again show you combustion with lycopodium powder, and there's also a science lesson and safety warning that besides don't play with fire at home, but it sometimes would happen that grain elevators or grain silos, especially when they got very empty and there was just a little bit of grain left, they would burst into flames, explode, totally combust. And it had to do with the fact that the powder, the grain powder, it was very flammable. Powdery things, when they're atomized or in the air, they're very flammable. So some kind of spark or heat source set off that grain elevator, causing it to explode. So they take precautions to avoid that from happening. So the heat in this situation is a lighter. Watch the science. Whoa, that was something else. Well, I have one more final demonstration I want to share with you, perhaps my favorite. It's called a chain siphon. Right now is make some observations. What do you observe here? What does AlakaSam have? What is it that I have here? They're not magnetic marbles. Magnetic marbles are cool. This is a magnetic, it's not magnetic. This is beaded chain. It's like one continuous chain of beads. You know, like you can make necklaces out of. Mardi Gras beads are akin to this. Well, this is a continuous strand of beads, and I put it in here neatly, without any knots or anything. I'm wondering what you're thinking might happen if I were to pull this end out. The red beads represent the end, and I pulled them down and let go. Any predictions, any guesses of what you think might happen? Well, let's find out together as we watch the science. At the ready. You ready? Watch the science. Wow, that was wild. Who had predicted that? Who thought once it got started, it would keep going? Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what happened. This is what's known as a chain siphon. Now, a siphon, you may have heard of a siphon for water. Using a clear tube, you can get water to go from a high place to a lower place. Gravity's involved. Well, gravity's involved here too. I've got some more beads, by the way. This container's got over 4,000 beads. It's one continuous strand. But I want you to watch for the beads arching up out of the container and be thinking about, why is that happening? How do the beads rise up? That's the magical part of it, in my opinion. You know, magicians will sometimes make things levitate and float. Today, I'm making the beads float. So here comes strand number 2. Whoa! Oh, awesome. Wow, that was so cool. And did you see it? It was kind of levitating out. This was recently observed and recently figured out, just in the last, in the 2000s. What's happening is gravity is pulling the chain. Once enough chain is out, the weight of that chain is enough to pull the chain out of the container. However, and it's important that the chain is put in there neatly so that it doesn't get tangled or caught up. If it's able to come out, the gravity will just pull on it. Now, there's another force that happens because Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, a mathematician long ago, figured out that anytime there's a force applied, there's an equal and opposite force. So for every force, there's an equal and opposite force, is what his law of motion says. You maybe have heard that expression. For every force, there's an equal and opposite force. Well, in this case, the force of gravity, the pulling, causes the beads to be pulled up, pulled up. And then when that force is happening, there's an equal and opposite force in the other direction, which is down. So the chain of beads tries to push down. Now, it would make this go if I weren't holding it, but I keep the container in place so that downward force isn't able to execute or happen, or it gets translated into an upward force. So it's Newton's law that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That explains why the beads levitate up out of the container. There's one other interesting thing. I've got more beads. I've got even more. I may have lost my marbles, but I definitely have a lot of beads. These beads, this one works better against a dark background, so I'll be drawing the curtain. But I've got, in this container, over 9,800 beads, almost 10,000 beads in one continuous strand. I remember now what I wanted to tell you about that force. It's the same force that causes the beads to rise is the same force that skateboard tricks rely on. When a skateboarder does an ollie and push down with the back of the board, there's an equal and opposite force that pushes them up. So the same physics are involved. Let's take a look at this grand finale of almost 10,000 metallic beads strung together. Wow! So physics students will do this off the side of buildings to really get that arch up there. Because the higher up it is, the higher the arch can go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Science Magic by AlakaSam. Have a wonderful big day of play for 2020. Thank you so much, City of Seattle, for including AlakaSam once again. And I hope to see you all in person soon. Bye-bye.